Well, this is the final project. If you haven't gone through the chapter projects yet, please do so now. Many of these projects set up the file that you will be using here. Without doing those steps, you won't be able to finish your project. Once you've gone through all of those, let's open up your project template file. I've opened up our final version of it from our previous chapter. Now I'm going to save as. This will give you a before and after version for this project so that we will all be starting with the exact same file. I'm going to save this file and then I will save a final version of it so you'll have a before and after version that you'll be able to look at and compare with and to make sure that you're doing things properly. What we're going to do is to draw a small movie house in this section. Later sections will involve adding chairs, doors, and then finally we will add all the annotation to our drawing. So we're going to create our model, and the model obviously goes in model space. These are the blocks that we previously made. We don't need to see them right now, so I'm going to select them, right-click, and erase. Now we need to be working on the proper layer. First, we're going to start off by drawing the exterior walls. So I want to make sure that our wall exterior layer is the current one. So you can click here. This is in the Home tab on the Layers panel. Now we're going to make the exterior walls. Doesn't really matter where you start this at, but we're going to draw with a polyline. So start the polyline command and pick a point. Turn on your ortho because we're just going to draw straight horizontal and vertical lines. We're just going to enter in distances. Now remember, this drawing is set up into feet and inches, with inches being the unit. So if I type in a number, it's going to be in inches. Some of our dimensions here are going to be in feet. So you'll have to type in the feet sign or symbol. Let's start off drawing a line 16 foot, 8 inches to the right. We're going to draw another line, start from this endpoint, so O snap to it, and draw it down 37 feet. Draw another line now to the right, 16 feet, 8 inches. And just close that up. Now we're going to offset our line 7 feet, 6 inches. We're going to use this line. Explode this polyline and offset it 30 feet. There we go. Now extend. Type in EX and select both of those lines. Enter, select this line, and now shift and select that line to trim it up. Enter. Offset 22 feet. Enter. Select this line. Enter. And now let's trim. Enter. And select all of these lines here. Pick this part, and that part. That is our overall outline for our building. Now type in P edit, press the letter M for multiple, press return, and then select all of these at the same time. Press enter, type in Y for yes, we want to convert all of the lines to polylines. Click join. Enter a fuzz distance of 0, press enter, and enter again. Now we have one solid polyline enclosing the entire building. The next thing we want to do is to create a wall thickness here. So we're going to offset 8 inches, just 8, press enter, select the line here, go inside, press return. And that is our exterior wall. Let's pick up where we left off. So we have created, so far, the exterior wall. Now we need to enter in where we're going to put in our windows and our doors. Before we do that, I want to explode both of these polylines. So use the explode command, select them both, and now they are all the individual lines that we have. Now we're going to offset and trim these lines to create the openings for the doors and for the windows. Start with the offset command, 12 feet, enter, and select this line here. Enter, offset again, 3 feet, 4 inches. Press return. Now use the trim command. Select all these objects, press enter, select there, and there. Now we have a nice little opening. We're going to continue with this process to trim up our openings for our doors and windows. So offset, press return, type in 4 feet, 10 inches, press enter, start at the top here, select that line, and go down. Press enter. Enter again to restart the offset command, and this time 3 feet. Enter. I'm going to offset all of the lines all the way down, and then we'll trim everything at once. So offset again, 9 feet 2 inches. Press return. Offset again, and we'll go with 3 feet. Press return again. One more wall section here, offset 9 foot 2 inches. Select the line, offset it this direction, press return, offset again for another 3 foot section. Press return. Now we're going to trim all of this up. Start the trim command, press return. You want to select both of these lines here and all of these lines as well. We're going to use all of these as trimming lines. Press return, select all of these lines, and then these lines here to make the openings. This is going to be a door. These will be windows, and we need to put in one more door down here, and it's going to be a double door. Let's use the offset command again, 5 foot 4 inches. Press return, select the line, offset to the right. Press return. Press return again, start the offset command, and we're going to offset 6 feet. Press return to finish, and then the trim command. Select all of these items, press return, trim these away and those away. And now we have the entire outline of our building with the openings available. Now we're going to create a hatch pattern to show our exterior walls more clearly. So let's make sure we're on the layer we want to be on. Let's go to our hatch layer that we created. We're going to go to the wall hatch. Let's start using our hatch command. And we want to use a hatch pattern of ANSI 31. And our angle is going to be at 30 degrees. And let's pick inside our objects. You can zoom in. We're going to use the pick points option. Click in here. That pattern is a little too tight, so we're going to give it even a little more. Let's set that to 20, and that looks good. So that's the pattern we're going to use. ANSI 131 at 30 degrees with a scale factor of 20. And we're going to pick inside each of these objects. And sometimes when you zoom in too closely, AutoCAD just kind of freaks out and it can't handle it. So you just have to zoom out a little bit, pick in the exact same spot, and it still works. I know it's crazy. It's really annoying. That's just one of the little things about AutoCAD. So just keep filling in each of these wall sections with your hatch pattern until you get them all filled in. When you're finished, press enter. So there's our exterior wall with a little bit of a hatch. Now we need to put in a few interior walls. So let's change our layer. We're going to go to wall interior. Start the line command. And we're going to start off right here. Snap to this endpoint and just draw it straight down to this endpoint. Press return. Now we're going to offset this line. Offset it 6 inches. And offset that to the right. Now we need to offset from the top 12 feet. Press enter. And we're going to select this line here and go down. There it is. Use your match properties command, type in MA, press enter. Since this is going to be an interior wall, select one of your interior walls that you've drawn here and select that item. That way it will look the same. Use the extend command. Select this line here, press enter, and pick that one. Press return again. Now we need to offset this line, make it 6 inches. Pick that and to the bottom. So now we're going to put a doorway in right here. So we're going to use the offset command, 1 foot 4 inches, press enter, select that line, offset to the right. Offset again, 3 feet, press enter, select this line, and offset it in. Now use the match properties again, type in MA, select this line, and then pick these two. That way they're all on the interior wall layer. Use the trim command, select all these items, press enter, and trim it up so that we have this nice little opening. Now we're going to put a little doorway here. offset again, 7 feet, 4 inches. Select your line here, move it down, press return, offset 6 feet. Select the line and go down, press return. Type in MA for match properties, select the blue line, and then pick these 2 white lines. Press enter and then trim. We're going to trim all of this up here. So select all of these lines, press return, trim those away, and get that little bit out of there too. So now we have our exterior walls, we have our interior walls, and the last thing we need is to put a little movie screen. So we're going to offset 27 feet, 6 inches, pick this line here, go to the right, click, and return. And then use the extend command, select that line, press enter, come down here and pick the blue line so that now it goes all the way across our room. Okay, now we're almost done with our model. We just have a few more things that we're going to do in the next section. We're going to insert the doors, the windows, some plants, and some chairs. So I've broken down this final project into 3 main steps. One is to draw the building, and I've broken that down into smaller subsets as well to give you smaller bits to digest easily. So the second main set will be to draw in some of the decorations. This is going to include the doors, the windows, the plants, and the chairs for our movie house. And then the final main section will be all the annotation, and we'll break that down as well. So let's start with the doors. Let's make sure we're on the right layer. We're going to go to door. That's the layer we want to use. So setting door layer as current. Now we need to insert our door block. Now we set these up earlier in a previous section. So we just use the insert command, and we can look for the door imperial. Now remember, this is a dynamic block. So we're going to insert it. And because it's a dynamic block, a lot of times it's going to try to automatically match some of your lines. You see how it kind of automatically twists around? It's trying to interpret what I'm trying to do. So you're just going to have to position it until it gets right. And if it doesn't, it's all right. We can use move and rotate if we have to. So I'm clicking on the midpoint here, but I missed. It's all right. We're going to use the move command. Select it, start, grab the midpoint, put the midpoint in right there. You see our door isn't quite large enough. That's all right. This is a dynamic block. Select the block, click on these arrows, and stretch it out. In fact, I want to move this using the move command. Put it all the way at the end there. Okay, that's our first door. Now let's put in a few more. We'll put one in here. Use the insert command. Click OK. Drop it into place. And again, if it doesn't go right, use your move command and snap right into the end. And then stretch it out so it's to the right width. Now, since we have the door in here already, we can use the copy command, and we can just copy this to wherever we want to go. I want to put one down here. I want to put one here. Select this, and we're going to flip it. Now I just need to move it to my endpoint. Now these are at the right size, so I don't need to adjust them. But what I do want is them to be external opening doors. So I'm going to select them, click on those. And there we go. Now they open to the outside. We're going to move them again. We're going to select both of them, press enter. Grab that endpoint to that endpoint. And there we go. I'm going to copy both of these again. I'm going to grab this point, and I'm going to put them in here. Press return. Now use the rotate command. Select both of these, press enter. Grab that point right there, and with your ortho on, open them up. They should fall right into place. Now I'm going to use the mirror command. Select both of these doors, press enter, type in MID for midpoint, grab the midpoint of that wall, just move your mouse straight up, left click, and type in Y. Yes, I want to delete the source objects. And there are all of our doors. Now that we have the doors drawn in, we need to put in our windows. Make sure that we are on the Windows layer. Type in the word insert, press enter. And we're going to insert our window imperial block. Click OK. And insert it right there. I'll use the rotate command, press return, select the block, click on the midpoint, and then just type in 90 degrees. Now I want this to be centered, so I'm going to use the move command, select my window, pick it from the endpoint or midpoint right here, and type in MID. Make sure I go to the midpoint of this white line right there. And there it is. And it's great because it happens to be the exact right size. So I'm going to copy this, start the copy command, select the window, press enter, pick the midpoint here of the white line, and we're going to insert it here, and we're going to insert it here. Press return to finish. And that's great because our window is perfectly the right size, no adjustments needed there. So the windows are nice and quick and easy. And our drawing is really starting to take shape. So the next thing that we need to do is to draw our chair. So let's change our layer again, put on the chair layer. Insert, enter. Now let's pick our chair. OK. And then just drop it in anywhere right there. We want the chair to be facing to the right, not to the left. So we'll need to rotate this. Use the rotate command, press enter, select the chair, press enter again. For our base point, we want to use the insertion point of the chair. So type in INS for the insertion O-snap. Press return, select the chair, and then type in 180 for 180 degrees. Flips it all the way around. And now we need to put in some rows and columns of chairs. So for that, we're going to use the array command. In fact, we're going to use the rectangular array. Start the rectangular array command, select the chair, press enter, and well, we need a few more of these. So click on that arrow. That looks good. Click here, stretch it out. That's the way I like it. Press enter, and there are our chairs. Nice and easy, very easy indeed. And now for our last step in the creation of our model. We're going to offset the outside line that we have here, and we're going to create a pathway for our plants. And then we're going to insert our plant block, and then we're just going to array it along the path. So change our layer to footing, and we're going to draw a polyline. Type in PL, press enter, and we're essentially just going to trace over the outline of our building. So start here, and then just snap to endpoints to our outside dimensions of our building. Another thing we could do is to just offset this outside line, but it's not a polyline right now. And then we would have to do a lot of joining and trimming. And so I feel that this is probably a more simpler solution. Now, once you come up to this last end here, type in CL for close, and that will create a closed polyline. Now, our foundation only needs to come a few feet away from our building. So we're going to offset 2 feet, enter, select this line, and move it to the outside. Press enter. Now, we don't need this line in here. Select it, right-click, and erase. So there's our building, and we have the outside line of a footing. We need that outside line because we don't want to plant over the top of it. So now that we have that, we need to create a pathway for our plants. So we need to be a couple of feet away from it. But before we start, let's switch to our plant layer. It's right there and it's red. And let's insert our plant block that we created. Use the insert command, find the plant, click OK. We see our plant here is quite large. So you want to make sure that we're missing where that's going to be at. And that looks like it's going to be pretty good right there. Now we're going to offset. And this time, instead of typing in a distance, since we don't know what that distance is, we're going to offset through. So type in the letter T, press enter, select this line, and then drag it to here, and type in CEN for center, and select the center of that line. So this line that we just offset is going to be our array path. Now I want to center this plant, so I'm using the move command. For my base point, typing in center, C-E-N. I'm going to grab the center of this plant. Now type in MID for mid. I'm going to put it right in the middle of this line here so that we know that this plant, the very first plant, is starting right in the middle of the building. So now we need to use the pathway array command. Select that command, start it, pick our plant, press return, pick our polyline here, and we get something really crazy. Now this happens sometimes with path away and closed polylines. Now it should work, but it happens so that it just gets caught in this loop that never ends and it doesn't know what to do with it. So if that happens, undo, and here's a little trick. Use the trim command, select the block, press return, and pick that line. We're going to break it. That's all we did. We just broke it. So now that closed polyline is no longer closed, but it has a start and a stop point. So that now AutoCAD can handle this, and that's okay. It's going to get us close enough to what we need. So start the path array command again. Select your plant, press enter, select your pathway, and that's much better. Okay, let's say that's too many plants though. I don't like having that number of items. So we need to switch that from measure to divide. And now we can control how many items there are. Let's say 15. One of the things that it's doing is that it's putting one of these objects right at the very end, and it's kind of overlapping it. So that may be a problem you'll run into, but that's okay. We can deal with this. And this looks pretty good. It's very symmetrical. So I'm going to close array. Now I'm going to explode the array so that each one of these are individual items. I'm going to come here to this bottom plant, right click, and erase. Now select the polyline, right click, and erase. Zoom extents, and here we go. So we have our building, we have our exterior walls, our doors, our windows, we've hatched the walls to better see them. We have our interior walls, a set of chairs, our foundation, and then plants that go all the way around. Now all what we have left to do is to annotate and create our drawings. Our model is finished. Now on to the final part of our entire title project. So in this chapter project here, you will have created your very first AutoCAD model and drawing sheets. Open up your project file if you don't have it open already, and let's begin. We've created our model, all of our line work is done, and now we need to create our paper space tabs. That way we have actual drawings. Now we have one set up here already. It's called Dimension, and you can see here it doesn't quite show everything exactly the way we want it to. Well, that's okay. Double click inside the viewport. Make sure it's unlocked. And let's move this to about the center. And I want the scale to be at 1/4 inch equals a foot. If it isn't, click on the little arrow here, find the 1/4 equals a foot, and select it. And then center this item right here. And once that's set up, make sure to lock your viewport. That way we won't accidentally zoom in and out. Okay, so let's come out of this, double click somewhere outside of that viewport so it is no longer activated. We're going to add a little bit of information to our title block. Now our title block isn't set up as an annotated text or anything, which is okay. We're just going to type it in. Go to the text layer. And I just want to keep this pretty simple. Go to our Annotate tab, and let's change our styles. Let's go to Title. Start the mtext command. Pick this point here, stretch it across, and enter in Movie House. That's pretty simple. Now let's select this and edit the text again, and let's make sure that we are center justified. I'm going to select everything and go to our center justification. There we go. So now our movie house is centered. Let's copy this text. I'm going to turn off my ortho. I'm going to put this right here, press enter, double click to edit it, Control A to select everything and type in the number 1. I'm going to shrink down this box just so it's a little bit different and not as big and bulky. And I'm going to put this as sheet number 1. and somewhere in the center of this. Now we need to enter in the date and the scale. So instead of the title, let's go down to our notes so our text isn't as large. Let's use text and type in today's date, whatever it may be for you. Now I want to enter in the scale. I'm going to use the same type of text. And this is 1/4 of an inch equals 1 foot. Now you can see here the text automatically did a stacking for the fraction for me, and that's fine for me. If you don't like that, you can change it, whatever it needs to do for you. All right, that's the basic start of this. Looks like I accidentally copied something over here, which happens from time to time. I'm going to erase it. Now we are ready to start dimensioning this page. Before we do though, I want to create a second layout page. So we're going to go down here to Dimension, right click, say Move or Copy. Select the Create a Copy, click OK. So now we have two pages. We have a Dimension and we have a Dimension 2. Let's rename this Dimension 2. So right click on the Paper Space tab and call this Overall. All right, so now we have two potential drawings that we're going to use. Move over here, double click on the text, go to the end, type in Overall, and we'll keep this as drawing number 1. The date and scale are exactly the same. So double click inside this viewport. I don't want to show the footing. Let's go to the Home tab, the Layers panel, click on the snowflake here for freeze, select that line, press Enter, then double click outside here somewhere else. And that's fantastic. So now we have an overall view. We're going to put in a few dimensions. Let's switch to our dimension layer. Go to our Annotation tab and click on our dimensions, but I want to make sure our arc project is what we have set up. It's there. Click on our dimensions. We're just going to insert a few dimensions. Click this point. We're going to come down to the bottom here and put it right there. Let's start another dimension. Click here and here. And we're going to put in our dimension right there. Now click on the continue. And we're going to drop that in right there. And that's good. It kind of comes over the top of this, but that's all right. We need one more dimension. We're going to come here and here for this other wall. I've got a little bit of that. Make sure you don't snap to it. Zoom out. And there. So you see how I'm working in here. I'm zooming in and out, panning back and forth constantly while I'm working inside my drawing and executing other commands. I don't really like this here, so I'm going to select this and this one as well. And I'm going to grab that grip and stretch them both all the way up to the top all at the exact same time. Press Escape to let go of it. And there are some overall dimensions for our drawing. So we've created our model, we've put in our accessories, our plants, and we've created our first drawing. Now let's create our second and last drawing. The Paper Space tab is already here for us, and we're going to draw in some dimensions. Now there are a few things I don't want to show in this drawing. But before we start, I'm going to change this. Double click the text, delete the number 1, and then we're making this sheet number 2. Activate this viewport by double clicking inside it. Go to the Home tab, Layers panel, click on the snowflake. It's the freeze, and let's freeze the plants, freeze the footing layer, and let's freeze these chairs. I just want to dimension the location of the doors, windows, and walls. Double click outside of that viewport to turn it off. Now we're on the dimension layer still, so that's fantastic. We'll go to Annotate and the dimension. So we're going to create a few dimensions here. Let's start on this outside wall. Select there and dimension to our window, 4'10". Now we're going to continue. And it picks up where we left off. Clicks that point. We're going to go all the way down the wall. I'm just zooming out, panning a little, and then zooming in. Zoom out, pan a little, and then zoom in. When I'm finished, I press Enter. Press Enter again to fully cancel out. So now we've located all of the doors and windows for that side of the wall. Let's put in an overall dimension. Start the dimension command again. Click on that same point. Click on this endpoint and put that dimension in there. Let's do something similar here on the bottom. Start the dimension command again. Dimension to the door. And then continue. There's that one. Now let's do the top. Dimension to that point. The first part of the door. Pull your dimension up here and continue. Now you can see here, we're repeating a lot of the same steps over and over again. That's okay. Start the dimension command. Click here. We want an overall dimension of this section. Bring that up and let's continue on. And let's locate the end of that wall. Now I want to put an overall dimension for the entire length here of the building. Start the dimension command. Click on this endpoint here. And then zoom in down to there. And click on the endpoint here. If you have any trouble with your O-snaps getting to the right snap location, don't forget you can manually type them in. Put that dimension right there. Perfect. Let's put in this dimension here now. Dimension to that endpoint. Dimension to this endpoint. We're going to stretch it out to the right. Continue down. Snap to there. Fantastic. So that's all of our external line work that we have dimensioned out. Now we need to do some of the internal, and we're nearly complete. Start the dimension command again. Pick that endpoint, and just pick up here. Parallel's fine. Locates that wall for us. Let's locate this wall here. Enter into these endpoints. Now we know where that is. And we need to know where this door is here as well. So we're going to start from this point, click to that point, stretch out our dimension, continue on, and dimension the doorway. Now we need to locate this last door. Start the dimension command, dimension this section here, and then continue on, dimension there, and enter. Enter again to finish. And now I see here that this dimension is kind of in the way, so we're going to stretch it down that way and stack it. Now we can see it. Last thing that we need to do is dimension where this line is at. So I'm going to grab my dimension command, pick this endpoint, pick a parallel point, and we have the 27-foot 6-inch dimension. So here we are. We now have our fully dimensioned model. This gives us all the information that we need to draw these walls, locate the windows, and the doors. Now we have a full set of drawings. We have a nice overall site plan and a fully dimensioned set of drawings as well. Both have been title blocked, labeled, and have a drawing number in them. And that is essentially how you make a drawing in AutoCAD.